Folks,
Stacy, could you talk a little bit about?
all right, before we get on this, we got to, folks, Stacey Abrams, she just said the quiet part out loud. All right. And in doing so, she may have accidentally exposed what this entire fight has really been about for years. All right. And she is they're panicking. They are panicking regarding this Supreme Court ruling. All right. Take a look.
Stacy, could you talk a little bit about how this ruling will affect Black representation, not only at the federal level, but at the state level? I'm thinking state lawmakers, county commissions, city councils. To what extent will this ruling affect representation and the representation, particularly of voters of color, at the levels below the federal level?
Absolutely. And that's why I think this is such an important conversation to have at this moment. In a competitive authoritarian nation, which is what America is now, democracy is about ensuring that we have shared power and shared voices. It does not guarantee you victory, but it guarantees you access. Authoritarianism, especially competitive authoritarianism, attempts to diminish your ability to use those same democratic institutions to your benefit. With these new maps, we know that analysis by Fair Fight and Black Voters Matter show that we could lose 19 to 20 congressional seats, but we could lose up to 191 state legislative seats. And
we hope so. We hope so. Do you see? So they create these words, competitive authoritarianism. Okay. Nicole, this is not true. The Supreme Court said that they're trying to make it more fair. We cannot create these districts based off of race. How is this competitive authoritarianism now, Nicole?
First of all, that's an oxymoron. Either you're in charge or you ain't. Who are you competing with if you're the man? I just don't understand it. But they're always playing with language. And this is a scare tactic. This is a scare tactic to get Democrats riled up to turn up to vote. What we do know and what polling has shown is that most Democrat voters, people who are still hanging in with the party, are incredibly discouraged. Incredibly discouraged. And it's not based on the Supreme Court decision. It's because there is no clear definitive voice for the Democrats. There's not one Democrat politician that can take to a microphone and inspire the voter base. AOC tried it when she was telling the North that they needed to pull up on the South. That happened this weekend. And it left a lot of people, especially third graders, scratching their head saying, well, wait a minute. If the North is North, how are they going to pull up on the South? But don't nobody tell her she's on the microphone behind plexiglass, as if some conservative person was going to come up and take a pop shot at her. We don't get down like that. That's y'all. That's who does that. But Stacey is absolutely right. They can look forward to getting creamed based on these new maps. But this is not disenfranchisement at all. These maps are reflective of the people who live in these states. You have to compete now, Stacey, and it's going to kill you because you're going to have to get out and knock them doors. You're going to have to get out and talk to people. But Democrats don't want that. They want the race handed to them as it has been for the last 40, almost 50 years.
Yeah. Let's keep going here.
In the South, those state legislators draw city council districts, county commission districts, school board districts, and they draw state legislative lines. And so if you want to know if your child is going to have fair and equitable access to education, that will be diminished if your families can't participate in elections and elect leaders who value your education. If you want health care in the South, it's the state legislature that decides whether you have access. All of the things that disproportionately harm communities of color will now be decided by people who disproportionately dislike and vote against the needs of people of color. But what we have to remember, and this is why I started the 10 Steps campaign, this is a national fight. It may start in the South, but it has national implications. Progress that serves the most disproportionately harmed communities lifts everyone. But if we do not do so, if we allow the suppression of Black and brown votes, we are harming their neighbors and we're harming the U.S. And that's why we cannot allow the South to be left behind. We need national intervention because they are starting in the South. But this is a national attempt to misuse democratic institutions to suppress all of the communities who fight for democracy in this country.
All right. Shelley, what are your thoughts on that exchange?
So translation, In other words, Stacey is basically saying the Democrats don't have a plan unless the lines are drawn by race. That's it. That's what they're saying. They can't win unless they can manipulate the voters in blue districts, if you will, or whatever district, how the lines are drawn by race. That's number one. Number two, I want her to explain to me how people in the South, basically, they're going to all die because they don't have access to health insurance. I mean, well, I don't understand unless she's talking about those people who receive Medicare and Medicaid, particularly Medicaid, and they are relying on the government to pay for their health care. Maybe that's what she's talking about. But other than that, again, like Nicole said, another scare tactic. Every election season, Black people and brown people, they're going to die. They're going to starve. And they are going to just, I guess, get sepsis. I don't know what else. They're going to be, thrown out of their homes. These are the same tactics, different wording, but the same thing. They don't have a plan, the Democrats, unless the districts are rigged.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And they are reacting like the ground beneath them is collapsing. You would have thought, if you hadn't known what was going on, you would have thought that the aliens had landed, and this is what she was preparing. The area where she lives of what's to come, folks. We're sounding the alarm on this, and there's going to be more. I mean, this is just the beginning. As we get closer and closer to the midterms, they are going to get more extreme. They're going to create more hysteria. Or fake hysteria, I should say. They're going to turn the volume up on this, folks. And we got to be ready with the truth and the facts. This is Poppin' Politics. All right. So as you come in, remember to like, share, and subscribe, folks. Please, as you come in, if you are tired of power-hungry commie leftists like Stacey Abrams trying to strip us of our rights and tear apart our country, come on in, folks. You're in the right place because we're here to call them out. All right, ladies, let's set it off. Shelly, we got some supers tonight. I already see.
We have some supers already. We have Kung Fu CJ. Josh. Hi, Josh. Thank you for your $20. Josh is back with us. Happy Monday, Pop Fam. Everyone, select all for your notifications. That's right. So you hit that notification bell. It really helps make sure you're on time for every show. Thank you for that, Josh. You're always so supportive. Josh. And here's Kung Fu CJ. Thank you for your channel super chat. Hello, Pat family. The gang is here. That's right. We are all here, and we are all here with you out there in our super chat land or chat land. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button right now. And as Josh said, hit that notification bell so you will know when we are going to be on live all the time if you hit that bell. Don't forget it. Do it now.
Yes, indeed. Folks, we're starting out tonight with breaking political stories in the first top of the show segment, breaking political stories. And this one is a big one. Thomas Massie. All right. So tomorrow is the day where we find out in Kentucky. I mean, this is shaping to be one of the biggest political earthquakes of the Republican primary season. And it's exposing a growing battle inside the America First movement. All right. We're talking, of course, about Congressman Thomas Massie. Okay. Longtime libertarian conservative. He was, one of the Tea Party favorites. And he is suddenly in the fight of his political life, literally. All right. After openly clashing with President Trump, on everything, really, from Iran to spending to the Epstein files. Now Trump is backing another candidate, Navy SEAL Ed Galrine, in what has become the most expensive House primary in American history. All right, more than $25 million is pouring into this race. Polls are tightening. And for the first time in years, Massie may actually be vulnerable. All right. But the question I want you all in the chat to sound off, and you, of course, ladies, as well. What happens when a conservative lawmaker votes his principles, even when it puts him at odds with President Trump? Okay. Is it independence or is it political suicide in today's Republican Party? Here's JD Vance talking about it. Take a look. This is clip 3.
Problem with Thomas, and I've told him this in private, and now I guess I'll say it in public, is it's one thing to disagree with the party on a particular issue. It's one thing to take to have your independent stand on a number of questions. And by the way, some of the stuff where Thomas Massie has been independent against the Republican Party, I've agreed with him with. Thomas and I worked together during 2023, where I was trying to stop the limitless flow of American money to Ukraine, and Thomas was one of the people I was working closest with it. But that's one thing. Being independent, having your own opinions is one thing. Voting against the party on every single issue, you're eventually going to make too many enemies. And that is the problem that Thomas has had. It's not one issue. It's not 3 or 4 issues. It's that every time that we've needed Thomas for a vote, he has been completely unwilling to provide it. That is why the President of the United States has trained his ire on Thomas Massie. It's because we can never count on him for some of the most difficult votes. I wish that that weren't the case. I say that as somebody who's known Thomas well before I got into politics, but politics is politics, and when you always vote against the party, you can't expect the party to actually back you.
All right. So, Nicole, I mean, if Trump is fighting to save the country, why is Massie keep opposing him?
Well, because we're not a monolith in the Republican Party. Right. There are all different shades, types, and colors of Republican. And I mean that policy-wise, politically-wise. But there's something that J.D. Vance said that I think most people who have never been in party politics don't understand. While we can disagree and have shades of gray in between our policy points, when that bill comes to the floor, we have what we call party whips. There are people who come and say, listen, this may not be the thing that you want, but the party needs this. So next vote, we'll give you a little extra of this other thing. It very much is compromised within the party, but the party needs to move forward as a whole. This is what we talk about Democrats moving in lockstep. Democrats move in lockstep because their party whips actually whip them. I don't mean like physically, but actually whip their votes and saying, listen, you don't vote for this, don't bring nothing to the floor because we're going to shut you down. And they mean it. Our party's a little different. We always have people, Lisa Murkowski, who are kind of on the fringe, doing a little bit extra. We have people in our party that historically we've said, well, they're big L Republicans, right? They're libertarian and Republican, not Republican and libertarian. And so it kind of worked when we really weren't trying to advance the ball. However, in this climate, where we need to advance the ball, we've got 24 months left to correct everything that was done during the Biden years and advance the nation. We need everybody to walk in lockstep. And it's not on every single vote, but on big votes. We absolutely need you. And he has proven to be unreliable. He has been against caucusing and whipping and all the parliamentarian tools they use to get him to follow the crowd. And when you do that, you do earn the ire of the party leaders, because at this point, they're like, why do we have you? You never vote with us. We promise you we're going to give you the little things that you want. We give you the little things that you want, and you still don't vote with us. Give us somebody who will vote with us as we're trying to make these advancements. I get both sides. He's an independent thinker. He wants to be independent. He represents people that have a very large independent population that may or may not vote for him. But from a party standpoint, we need someone who's a little bit more reliable.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley. Before I do, here's Dan Bongino today giving his opinion. This is clip 2.
And folks, it's a difficult conversation for me because I really believed in this guy. I did. I supported him for a while, even when, him and President Trump butted heads. Been good on some issues. But I'm going to tell you something. I have never been as disappointed in a human being in politics as I am in Tom Massie. I largely stayed out of that race and make too many comments on it because the people of Kentucky will choose who they want. If they want Tom Massie, I'm not a resident of that district. I live in Florida. You pick who you want. Got his opponent coming on in just a little bit, about an hour. We'll ask some questions about some issues that matter to you, constitutional carry, Iran, NATO. However, when I got up there in that position, I could not believe what a fraud this guy was. I mean, like an epic level fraud. Whatever you think of this guy, I'm telling you, I have no dog in the fight. I supported him. He is an absolute fraud. Fraud. He decided to do some money bomb thing and just completely BSing people. about my record there, just lying to your face. I tried multiple times to get this guy to come over to give him a briefing on a case he kept bloviating about on Twitter, causing a serious problem, by the way. And I thought he believed in due process. Supposedly a libertarian, wants to try a case on X. And he didn't do it. I was there from March until January of this year. You know how many times he came over to visit and ask about these cases despite multiple offers, cases he kept bloviating about, what we could have actually told him? 0.
All right. Shelley, what are your thoughts on Thomas Massie?
So one of the things that I was thinking about over this weekend, I hear about all these races or the money that's going into that Kentucky race, is that the one thing I'm going slightly different with Nicole. You can't tell me that we're not a monolith and then justify this for kind of primary and Thomas Massie because he doesn't vote, I guess, more with Trump. However, I went back and forth. I do understand like the big issues that he was against, particularly, you know, the inflation or adding to the budget. Of course, he's the non-interventionist, I think, fully. He's even, you know, more so than I am and many other people, the Epstein files, things like that. So I get those big issues. I don't know what Dan was talking about specifically about this particular case. Nevertheless, Thomas Massie has voted, I think, comes out to be like 80-something% of the time, give or take. So I'm a little mixed, although I do know that this is politics. J.D. Vance was right. This is politics. So they're politicians. This is, I guess, par for the course. But you're not going to make me believe that, oh, we're not a monolith, and then you want 100% support. There's no room for thinking on the principles. And not only that, Thomas Massie seems to have been like this always, as far as particularly on fiscal issues and non-intervention. Okay, so these things are par for the course. And lastly, I said, out of all the issues that we have not confirmed, if you will, we certainly haven't codified for these 2 years. Thomas Massie is not the cause of that. So we still have Republicans in Congress right now that we still have not codified many of the executive orders or I'll say the issues, if you will, that we need to. We still don't have a wall. That's not Thomas Massie's fault. We still don't have charges on the cases and the issues that we have been, I guess, protesting about. That's not Thomas Massie's fault. And we still have our deficit and debt has increased. That's not Thomas Massie's fault. So the things that we say we want and that we need to do, we still haven't done with or without Thomas Massie. And when are we going to do it? That's my question.
Yeah. I mean, I think my issue here, and a lot of times it's my issue with a lot of libertarians, is they are so philosophical about everything. It's almost like a purity test. They want to be so pure towards the philosophy behind many of their ideas that they become contrarians. And I think that's sort of what people are saying about Massie. It's just like, are you a Republican or not? Now, I understand. I'm not saying that he needs to vote with the Republicans the majority of the time, but at least on the big issues,
But he does, though. He does 88%.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the things that he has voted against, it's been big bills. He voted against the big beautiful bill. He's voting against a lot of major policy agenda of President Trump. And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, being correct philosophically means little if you can't help move conservative policy across the finish line. And so that's what my issue is with him. And I think that's what that's what President Trump's big issue with is, if I cannot count on you on the major policies, that we really need to pass, what do I need you for? That's what I think.
I get you. Like I said, this is politics. However, even though he did not vote on those like the big beautiful bill, things like that, it still passed. Don't get me wrong. So even if he didn't vote on it, it still passed with some struggle back and forth. He was not. I would not say he was the cause of the struggle and the debates back and forth. But I get it. This is politics. So I mean, I'm kind of looking at it from both ways, if you will. But the one thing I'm not going to abide is saying, oh, we're not a monolith, but then you can't be, I got to tell you which votes that you have to vote. I mean, which bills you have to vote on in order for you to be a part of the party. So that just doesn't
agree with that, because look at what's his name.
Cool.
What's his
John Fetterman.
Yeah,
well, not so much John Fetterman, but the curly haired Republican, who's Rand Paul. Okay. Right. Yeah. So, he's sort of, I think it's not necessary. I don't think any of them always vote, or I'm not gonna say any, I don't think most of them vote the same all the time. It's when it matters. Can I count on you? That's what I think is important when we're trying to push forward this major, these major bills, this major legislation. Can we count on you? And we have not been able to count on him. And so they're saying, okay, the politics behind it, is all right. If we can't count on you, we got to get you out of there. But that's the question. And that's the question we have for you all in the chat. Do you think he's going to lose this primary? So it's really tight. This is the tightest it's ever been. We're going to be watching this tomorrow's, right? Is that right? Tomorrow is the day. In Kentucky, and
it's very tight. It's very tight.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Nicole? You're the big political out of us.
Listen, Kentucky's tough, because they do like libertarians, and you're right, KJ, when you say they are pie in the sky kind of people, that everything has to line up just right in order for them to actually put their finger and say, this is what I believe. He should have ran as a libertarian. Right. He could caucus with the Republicans when he wanted to, but he should have ran under that big L that he brings with him everywhere he goes. And then he wouldn't have these issues that he's having. Most people who do not like Rand Paul, when he disagrees with the president, he says he disagrees with the president, but he's open to the process of saying, okay, I will vote if you give me support for this other thing I'm trying to do. Thomas Massie won't do that. He won't allow himself to quote unquote compromise. And you find that a lot with big L libertarians. They don't compromise. They believe what they believe, and the philosophy is the philosophy, and they don't care if you don't like it. So we'll see. He's got a lot of libertarian-like folk in that district. It's going to be very interesting. What I know is that he's spent all that war chest that he had. He spent almost every dime. So we're going to see what it comes to. Trump's done pretty good so far in the primary. Yeah. I think he might pull it out though. I think he might squeak by. I think he may squeak by.
Massie.
Yeah, I think he might squeak by. But even if he does, his life has become miserable. So I would not want to be in his shoes.
Yeah, it's very tight.
Well, we have some super chats here, folks. Thank you.
All right, let's see who we have. We have Laura. Hi, Laura. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your $2. The gang is all here, y'all. Yes, we are here. The gang is all here. Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hey,
good to see you on a Monday. Thank you for your $20. Even if I can't catch you ladies live, I always catch your replays. Bless you, ladies. Thank you, Paul. You've said that before, and thank you for that. Thank you just for that support. No matter how you watch us, we thank you so much. Thank you for that. Everybody else, get busy. Get your fingers. What's the old saying? Let your fingers do the walking, the telephone book thing.
Oh yeah.
So hit that like. Right. Yeah. Hit that like, share, and subscribe, and get those fingers walking.
Yes, indeed, folks. And again, as you all know, your super chats go a long way in keeping us online, and we appreciate the support. We don't have sponsors here. You guys are the ones that fuel us, okay? And we appreciate you, each and every one of you guys. So again, our goal is to reach 250,000 subscribers. Yes. So we know we can do it, but we need your help. And again, your super chats go a long way in keeping us online. So thank you so much. All right, Nicole, there's our merch.
First of all, we need a new T-shirt that says, KJ, stop praying for this doggone heat. That's what we need. The temperature in Maryland is set on broil, and KJ's loving every minute. Love it. Sending people jokey, roly faces while everybody else is sweating to death. Girl. Lord have mercy. But get yourself some merch, because this heat is not going to let up. Get yourself a beautiful white T-shirt so that you may be able to breathe in this 98-degree heat if you're coming to DC for any of the 4th of July festivities, which are going to be epic. So get you something cute to wear. Give me my money back. It's always appropriate. It's non-confrontational. If you're a little bit more on the confrontational side, get you a t-shirt that says these people are crazy and go stand next to a Democrat and see how it works out. All of these shirts are a great way to sponsor or to support our channel. It is important that you guys do this for us because KJ said before, we don't have like corporate sponsors. CBS didn't write us a check. ABC is never going to write a check because of The View, because we drag them fairly regularly. So we depend on you. This is a win-win situation. You get to support the channel and you get to look good. Send us a picture and we'll show it on the show.
All right. I think we have some more super chats here.
It looks like we do. Who do we have? We have Allie. Thank you, Allie. Allie has been one of our mods. She's a member of our Freedom Club, and she has been a member with us for 14 months. Thank you, Allie. Did you hear what Massie's ex-girlfriend is saying about him? If true, he's a creep.
Yeah.
You know what? This is all part of the political season too. They bring out all this stuff out the woodwork to sway one side or the other, just to put more dirt on one side or the other. Again, they do it, and so whatever. Yeah, that's a big one. Laura Loomer is on the trail. She apparently interviewed this woman. It's a lot. It's pretty bad. So I don't know if it's been substantiated yet, but apparently they're saying some woman was a Florida social worker and school board candidate, dated him, and he arranged for her to have a job, I believe. Do you know what's going on with it, Nicole? It was something about then he fired her after, allegedly he fired her after she, I guess didn't want his request. She shunned him, shunned his request, and then she filed a wrongful termination complaint. It's a lot, naming him as a witness. So allegedly he offered her $5,000 in cash. She refused. Later she rejected the $60,000 settlement. It's real kind of,
it's
all of this, all this has to come out today, right?
This is that slush fund. This is that slush fund. I keep telling you guys want Epstein. I don't care about a dead man's freaky sex habits. I want to know about the people who are elected to Congress in this fund that they use to pay off women like this. Women like this. If you've ever been to a political dinner, you've seen it. There's a short, fat, balding politician, and he may just be governor of the state. And there is the most beautiful girl you've ever seen in your life. Professional makeup, hair, extension, nails, beautiful gown. And she's after him like a heat-seeking missile. Well, he gets her a little job. And when she won't comply or he's finished playing with her, they get paid off to go away. Sometimes they have babies.
And they get paid to come back at the right time, too, to tell the stories.
Exactly. They get paid more to come back, especially if they're in the heat of the battle. So this is very much swamp-like behavior. And that slush fund that's not only taking care of her, but taking care of hundreds of many other people. There was a video maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, of two young men having sex in the Senate building on top of the parliamentarian's desk and all of this other stuff. And people were like clutching their pearls. And we said, okay, it's Thursday, right? It's just a really, really cringy place sometimes, really cringy place. And this shows you like the kind of the underbelly of things that happen on Capitol Hill.
And should we add that slush fund is paid for by our taxpayer dollars?
It's our money.
Regardless of party. So it's our money. Give us our money back.
It's definitely our money. And that's when you need to have that t-shirt on. That's when you need to have the t-shirt and give me my money back, because we don't want a slush fund. We don't want our elected leaders to be paying off girls and boys and young men and young women for sexual indiscretions, as they like to call it. That is unacceptable to me.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's just like, don't do it. I mean, it's bad when they try to cover it up because they want this person around. Like, so when Massie was, when he wasn't such a threat, it was like, okay, we're not going to say anything because, allegedly, we want to keep him. But now they want him out. And so they're telling it all. Everybody needs to, tell it. So, I mean, I don't agree with it either way. But if he did it, then he needs to pay the consequences. So I don't know. But we'll continue to follow the story. Good catch there, Allie, for bringing that up. I did see it. I haven't
It is.
seen Laura Loomer's interview with the alleged victim.
It's
But
given Anita Hill for those of us who were children and watching Clarence Thomas's hearing. It's definitely an October surprise, I guess primary surprise. So it's a May surprise. Shelley is right. They drag people out of the woodwork thinking that it will influence the election. And it very well may, especially in Kentucky.
Politics,
well,
the swamp, like you said, the swamp.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, speaking of surprises, a May surprise, well, folks, Maryland is in the news and President Trump is going scorched earth. All right. Do we have that image available? So he's talking about 400,000 mail-in ballots have gone out. I think it was 500,000 actually, over 500,000.
565,000.
Okay, have been reissued. They're calling them replacement ballots. Okay, so they went over 500,000 voters requested mail-in ballots. The ballots were mailed before May 14th. Then the SBA couldn't pinpoint exactly who got the wrong ones, so they reissued 400,000 replacement ballots at a vendor's request. And now President Trump is putting Maryland and Governor Wes Moore on blast. He says in Maryland, they sent out 500,000 illegal mail-in ballots and they got caught. So now they're going to send out 500,000 more, but nobody knows what's happening with the first 500,000 they sent. In addition, many of these ballots went to Democrats. So any Republican running in Maryland doesn't have a chance. This was done by the corrupt governor of the state, Wes Moore. He allowed this to happen in order to make sure that Democrats win. It never made sense to me that Maryland was considered an automatic Democrat state, but now I see why. I'm sure this has gone on for years. I'm going to ask the Attorney General of the United States and the DOJ to bring an immediate investigation into this situation. That was President Trump on Truth Social today. You think this is going to go anywhere, Nicole?
Yes. And it's a very interesting situation. So Jared Demarnis, who runs our State Board of Elections, Jared says because he can't tell who got the wrong ballot. So by the wrong ballot, they mean Maryland has closed primary. So only Democrats can vote for Democrats and only Republicans can vote for Republicans. When they send you the wrong ballot, that means I may be a Republican who's getting a Democrat ballot. And I may be the type of person who's independent and I'm not supposed to get a ballot at all. And I got a ballot, either Republican or Democrat. So they don't know who got what. So in order to make it fair, is what they're doing is they're resending everybody a ballot that says replacement ballot on it. It says attention and replacement ballot. And they're saying they're only going to count the ones that say replacement ballot. The ones that if someone voted already, those ballots have been voided. Here is the problem. Well, all the ballots have what they call coding on it, and the coding says whether or not a person voted. So you can actually track your mail-in ballot. So that particular coding, if you voted the wrong ballot, it's supposed to automatically void said bad ballot. The problem is I don't trust that because if you were trustworthy, whoever this vendor is, who they have not named, whoever this vendor is, sent just random ballots out to Marylanders. And I find that reprehensible. With so much going on, especially election integrity across this nation, there's no way that these kind of mistakes can be swept under the rug. This can't be a shrug your shoulders moment because there are 500,000 ballots floating around. And who's to say that Democrats aren't voting in a Republican primary?
Wow.
Or vice versa.
Well, here's my ballot today. One of them came. I don't know if this is the wrong one or the right one. Okay, I got one today. Number one. Number two, I had never voted by mail, but this says vote by mail official ballot. I didn't request it. Never have I voted by mail. Did not request it, but this came today. Then last week, we got the ballot notifications. I forget what you call it.
Yeah.
got the templates or whatever, right?
The sample ballot.
Got two different ones. I got two of those. Two of those for me, just two. Right? Why? I'm only one person. Why do I need two? Okay. But nevertheless, I don't know if this is the right one or the wrong one, but I've never voted by mail. So why did I even get it anyway? Number one, this should not be happening at all. At all. It should not be happening. Number two, there's going to be even more confusion because they sent out the wrong one, so to speak. Then they're going to correct it and send out a second batch, if you will, to those same people who they sent the wrong ones to. It's going to be fraud. Let's just put it what it is. It's fraud.
Absolutely.
I think it was on purpose. It's to confuse people, confuse the process, if you will. That's what I think it was intentional. In 2026, this should not be happening.
Absolutely. And not so much even that it's in 2026. The state had 2 years to prepare the ballots. How does this happen? Folks, you all know who have been watching this. I am so sick of the mail-in ballots. I am so sick of this mail-in voting. We have had issue after issue after issue since COVID. We have had all my years. From when my mom used to vote, my parents used to vote. We never saw this. You knew who was elected about 8, 9 o'clock at night. You never had an issue. But now, since they've created this election month, it's no longer election day. You got early voting. You got all this types of mail-in voting. We've got issue after issue. And all they need to do is go back to, you go to the line and you vote election day. That's it. This is ridiculous. These people are disgusting. We know what it is. They're doing it purposely, intentionally to defraud the system. That's exactly what it is.
If you think about it, technically, I could vote this ballot by mail, technically, and still go to early voting because they're not counted. They're not counted.
Right.
They're not counted until after the election. So I could technically vote the ballot by mail and still show up at early voting and vote again. This is on purpose. You cannot. I'm not going to be. It's on purpose. It's on purpose. It's just on purpose.
Well, I will say this: the problems that I see, just from looking at what Jared tried to do to fix it, and where the public's confidence in Maryland's voting systems, where there's a gap with no bridge across that. The mistake was the vendor's mistake. Now, I don't know what information and what instruction they gave the vendor, but it's your vendor. You chose them. So the buck stops with you, right? So he's come up with this fix. The problem with the fix is he's not recalling all of the ballots that went out. So when the DOJ does come to investigate, where are these ballots? Someone show me a list of the voter IDs who got that ballot. Then we're going to go into the system and take a look at the system and see how many of those ballots have been voted thus far. Then we're going to have to look after the election to see how many of them were counted erroneously. Because here, all of our election officials are volunteer, right? These are volunteer people. This is not like, a battery of professionally trained people. And I say this is someone who used to be an election judge. It's just people who want to do some civic duty, that kind of thing. It's going to be incredibly difficult for the DOJ to come in and say, there were 460,000 ballots that went out. There are only 300,000 ballots that you recouped. What happened to the rest of them? Because he's not recalling the ballots. He's just sending out new ones. So now, not 500,000 ballots out there. We have over 1 million ballots out there. So they're not, carrying the one on this project. What really irritates me is that they're not saying that Democrats get Republican ballots, that Republicans get Democrat ballots, that independent people get ballots, that illegal people get ballots. They've not given us those data points. So I definitely appreciate President Trump putting this on the radar of the DOJ. Maryland is hard enough for Republicans to win because we're grossly outnumbered, because we're a bedroom community of Washington, D.C. The federal workers work here, live here, and that kind of thing. With all of that said, our elections still have to be fair. As an American citizen, I demand transparency. I demand that this vote be verified. If I were one of the Republicans running in any of these races, baby, the lawsuit is sitting on the desk waiting for the day after the election because something has gone awry.
Absolutely. And you talk about, equity in an elections, as we saw Stacey Abrams speaking earlier. For Stacey Abrams, we are 3 Black Marylanders, and this is disenfranchisement. Okay, that's what this is. And it's just another one on the list of just poorly managed things in Maryland, folks. Okay, we got declining water quality in Baltimore's Inner Harbor. All right, we got the Key Bridge builder contract canceled. There's been no new timeline given for the rebuild. Maryland lost Preakness Stakes trademark rights. The list goes on and on and on. $1.4 billion budget deficit. The unemployment rate jumped to 4.3%. This is what happens in a Democrat-run state. This is what happens, and it's one that's been democratically run for decades. And I'm not just talking about the state. I'm talking about many of the municipalities within Maryland. So the list goes on. Maryland's now named 6th worst state for tax competitiveness. The high school graduation rate fell 1.2%. We're at the bottom of every list you can name. All right.
It's funny. 4 years, right? Larry Hogan did great. Then he had another term. 4 years, we were doing great. Yep. This not only Democrat policies, but a governor whose eyes aren't on the wheel. He's so worried about 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, he can't focus on Annapolis. He can't focus on Baltimore. He most assuredly can't concentrate on the Eastern Shore. I think he thinks it stops in Dorchester County, baby. There's a whole lot of Maryland left past Dorchester.
You want to hear something funny? Want to hear something funny?
Move on after this.
Go to Maryland State Board of Elections website, and their tagline is verified, open, trusted, and empowering.
Wow. Oh my God.
They also have pictures of what ballot you should vote. They show you what it says across the top and all of this, but he needs to get all of those ballots back. Every single one of them.
Every single one.
We have some super chatters here.
Yes, we do. Let's see who we have. Gloria. Hi, Gloria. $49.99. Thank you for your $50 super chat, Gloria. Haven't been in touch in a while, but watch you when you're all on. I love all your unique takes, yet seem to agree most of the time. Love y'all. We love you right back, Gloria.
Yes,
thank you. Good to hear from you again.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, folks. So again, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate the support. So please come on in, share this broadcast, share it on your social media, share it on a text message and an email. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. I can't believe when we look at the metrics, folks, we got so many people watching that aren't subscribed. We want you to stay with us. We want to grow our community of like-minded people. So please subscribe. All right. So moving on to our cultural reaction segment. This is sort of where we move from politics to culture. Got to talk about a Pennsylvania principal who stood up to the students who tried to protest ICE. Take a look here. This is clip 4.
Back to class and we're good. If you stay out here, we will get your names. You will be suspended. Okay? That is your option at this point. Because you are operating outside the bounds of what was granted. That event was canceled. You left school without permission. Your rights do not supersede the school. So if you understand that, that is your option. If you wish to return, Dr. Damiani will let you in that door over there. If not, I will be getting your names. You will be suspended, okay? Those are your options. What are we doing? All right? Your rights do not exceed that of the school.
All right. Love it. We talked about this on here before. Here in Maryland, there were so many jurisdictions that let the kids walk out on May Day, walk out to protest ICE and all sorts of things. And as we just mentioned, we went through a laundry list of deficiencies within Maryland, particularly in the education system. These kids should go to school on weekends. Okay. And that Pennsylvania principal did the right thing in my book. What are your thoughts, Shelley?
Absolutely, he did that. Number one, if they leave the school building or the school property and let one of them get hurt, hit by, you're going to see, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you let Johnny and Susie out is your responsibility. They were on your watch, blah, blah, blah. You're going to hear all of that, but you need to control your children. I absolutely, principal, whatever your name is, good job. Keep it up and follow through. Suspend them. Follow through.
Yeah.
You could tell by the look on their faces that he don't play with them. You can tell that daddy voice that he's putting on them is not new to them. How they kind of froze. Even the kid with the Mexican flag, he's standing there trying to cover his face up. Like, if I cover my face up, he's not going to know it's me. I guarantee you that principal already knows every name, all the Hectors and the Marisols in that crowd, and he was not playing with them. He simply was not. Listen, you're supposed to be in school. If something, you're right, Shelley, something happens to them, it's on the school. And I love the way he explained it to them. Your rights do not supersede the rights of this school. Does not. I don't know who told you that, but it's an absolute fallacy. He told it to him 3 times, and you could actually see the kids thinking about it. I don't want to say there was smoke coming out of their ears, but there was a thought. They were like, wait a minute. So maybe, just maybe, this principal's got it right. And maybe there should be more principals who are as principled as that principal. How about that, Shelley, for some alliteration?
There you go. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you both there. Folks in the chat, sound off. Do you think that the principal should have let these kids protest? Or do you think he was right to hold the line? I mean, we talk about this one here in the past, how these schools, not only are they letting the kids out to protest, but they're indoctrinating them while they're there, telling them how ICE is authoritarian and comparing ICE to Nazis and all types of stuff. So I loved it. I loved it. All right. So staying on the line of schools, folks, we are in the season of prom, graduation. I know myself, I've got tons of graduation parties to attend. This is prom season. Some have already had prom. Some are upcoming proms are coming all throughout this month, and even some maybe in June. Well, have proms become too over the top? That is the question we want to ask you guys. Take a look at some of this. Just roll the clip. This is clip 6. All right, so this is somebody having a prom, and the person has dancers who are preceding them. This girl, so she's got a whole entourage of dancers, 3 ladies who are sort of like the act before she presents herself in her prom dress. So you can see they're doing some type of dance. It's a whole show for this thing.
A whole show.
This is before. This is to what would you call this prior to the prom? It's the
prelude, I guess.
Yeah, the prelude to prom. Okay, and here she comes.
The main event.
There she is in all red. There she is
with the burqa like style.
Yeah.
Or maybe
I will give her one. At least she's covered up.
Well. She might have.
But this is what we're talking about, folks. Yeah, some people in the chat are calling it hood prom. They do call this the hood proms. This is another one. They're yelling and screaming, and that's real money, folks.
I just hope he got that money from earning it, saving his allowances, doing some work around the community. I hope.
Well, I hope she picks it up.
Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous. And the parents are screaming. Here's another one. So this one, I mean, she came in on a horse and carriage.
Over the top.
For prom,
a lady on stilts.
Over the top. I thought maybe it was Aaliyah's mother coming with her, taking her to her grave.
Yeah, because she did have a horse-drawn carriage. She did.
Over the top.
High schoolers, 12th grade. Yeah. Beautiful color. There's another. I'm surprised the boys are doing all this. It's about the money thing. What is that? And they're doing the dance and they're throwing the money. I don't get that. I don't understand why they're doing that. Put money all in your face. This money has been everywhere. Cracking somebody's ass to snorting coke lines. I mean, and they putting it on their face and stuff. And then there's this one.
Yeah.
Dad and mom, I guess. And this is a boy. I never know.
What is that on his back? I didn't understand what that was.
Part of the car.
It's a part of the tux. It's a sash.
Yeah.
You know.
In the back, across the back.
He had it made probably. It's probably custom. But
a lot of them have their
lights. And, I mean, some of this stuff you don't even see for weddings.
Look at this. A clown. It's just clownish.
So I mean, ladies, I want to start off with you, Shelly. Let's say get the elephant in the room. We don't see this at white proms. It's the black folks.
Okay,
it's the black folks.
I have a song, some lyrics that will explain, and this is what I'm starting to think this song. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? That's what the song is. The Christmas song, Christmas in the summertime. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? That's what it is. That's what you see. Yeah, that's what I see. All of these people, I'm going to put a disclaimer. I'm guessing that just by statistics and geography, maybe some other groups, ethnicities do the same thing, go to excess in their own little way.
I've never seen it.
I'm just saying, but I think if it was as frequently and as prevalent as it was for "Do you see what I see?" we would see it. We would see more of it on social media, particularly today. But to me, this is a culture of excess. It's a culture of, I call it financial illiteracy. Okay, certainly. And it's a culture of the hip hop, the trap culture. And it's a culture of ghetto. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a culture of ghetto. It's a mindset. And I tell you what the worst thing is. The teenagers, they aren't the problem. It's the parents. It's the parents. The teenagers are the result of the parents being the problem.
Yeah. Nicole, I mean, what's going on here? Why are we seeing it? And in these areas those were some pretty nice homes that we saw on this, but I've seen it in a lot more less lower economic class homes, but they'll throw out the red carpet. They got all the money and all this. And then next thing you know, the stuff is out on the street next week. What's going on?
This is what they call social status signaling, right? Mm-hmm. So Visa does a study every year on how people spend their money for each kind of economic strata. So people who make about $50,000 a year household income, especially people who make $25,000 a year or less, usually spend much more than people who make more money on prom. The average cost, I guess people using their visas and whatnot, about $1,500. So if you only make a household income of $50,000 and you spend $1,500 on prom, you're already upside down, right? Someone who makes well more than $50,000 usually spends about $800 on prom.
Wow.
This is definitely a thing because you guys remember that prom and these kind of social parties were segregated. Black people had their own thing, white people had their own thing. And then as prom became more prevalent, schools said, we can't afford to throw two, we're going to throw one. Everybody's going to have to get along. We're going to have to play some of your music, and it's going to work out. Well, people said we still wanted to keep some of our culture. So they started having community meetups where kids would get their gowns on and their tuxes, and everybody would pull up and just like be outside and be cute and take pictures and that kind of thing. But then comes social media, where everybody's doing this, get dressed with me, let me, look real chill for 1 second, jump up, and the next picture you're going to see is me, all tricked out, professional makeup and everything else. So social media has really turned this up. And from the parent standpoint, it's definitely the signaling that, economically we're doing well, although you're not doing well, definitely not. However, if you could make it viral, would that catapult your child into, a superstardom status? Would it change the thing? These are the same people who would buy magic beans. These are the people who play the lottery. These are people who would not pay their light bill, but spend it all on a bingo. It's I don't want to say financial illiteracy, but the value systems are very different.
It's
very, very different.
And you talked about parents. Here's a parent here in this next clip that's going off about it. This is clip 7.
Biggest nut? Okay, nut. Okay, nut.
I mean, what is it?
Let me see your ring. Let me see your ring. Let me see your ring. Oh, little Woody. Oh, my God.
And let me say this. This, and you all may disagree with me. I'm a boy mom, okay? This is so weird for me. I do not know many boys that want that. Most boys, they don't. I wish I had a girl. I wish I had girls because I feel like they get more involved in stuff like the prom. But we're seeing multiple boys flexing for the cameras and stuff. This is clearly a feminine run, mother, single mom run thing. That's what I personally think. Because most men don't like all that. Most men and most boys don't like all that.
I agree. It's social media, it's feminism, like you said, the femininity or feminization, if you will. But another thing, Nicole, you were saying you didn't think it was financial illiteracy. I think it is. And let me tell you why. I think there is a culture of not just financial illiteracy, but this with social media added. There are many, and I'm going to say Black people that look like us. There are many young people, or some old, unfortunately, who really think that rich people, they just, I'm not talking about celebrities, okay? Hollywood, let's leave them in a class by themselves. But they think that your average wealthy person is out here, flexing, showing their money, they got it. No, try reading the book. I think it's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Kiyosaki. Yes. I forget his don't be mistaken. Most rich people, wealthy people, they might buy nice things, quality things, that last for a long time. They're not spending every other month on a purse, or every year they're not buying a car. They typically will live below their means and have assets and wealth and emergency cash stashed up. They're not out here flexing, just looking good for the camera like that. No. What's the guy's name? Warren Buffett. If I'm not mistaken, he still lives in his same old, I don't know, little small single family. I'm saying small, whatever the size is, but his same old single family home that he's been living in forever. Okay. But this is the mistake that many, again, Black people make. They think it's all about show. It's all about show. Show everybody where I can, and they are, as my grandmother would say, no pot, no window.
Yeah. No pot to piss in, no window to throw it out of. Yeah, but I'm going to say, that flaunting of visual wealth is how we had that big incident, this past weekend with Swatch and AP watches. And the people are like, oh my God, I got to have this watch. Why? Kids are graduating, they're going off to college. There's so many other things you could be doing with your money. But again, they earned it. And if this is what they want to do with their money, it goes back to not getting what you need to set yourself up for a life of financial freedom. That comes from good financial money habits. Now, everybody splurges on stuff every now and again, you know. Every now and again you splurge. Every now and again you do something, you know, very generous for someone else. Every now and again. But for the most part, you need to make sure that you can run your household effectively if something happens, you know, because things happen. You can guarantee one thing in life, something's going to happen. Make no mistake. What I don't like, and the thing that really kind of burns my biscuits when I see that kind of thing, is how the parents are taking it so far over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much the kids, because most of the kids kind of look awkward, you know, kind of gangly like children, the way they're supposed to look, even if they are flossing with somebody's paycheck. You know, somebody got their paycheck cash and they out here, you know, doing the thing with the money. It does give me pause that what are these children being told in their homes? That the show is worth it. I'm going to tell you, I have 4 men who are very close to me. And we've been together for many, many years. And one of them moved away to Houston when his wife retired from the FBI. They moved away to Houston, and he's one of my dearest friends, and he watches the show Hey Rory. He's a very good friend of mine. And all of them have done very well in their life. I mean, very, very well. Captains of industry. They all have their own very good businesses. If you saw these men, you wouldn't think that they were anything other than an average Marylander. You know, they got on jeans and a shirt. They don't have on fancy watches. Me and those Meta glasses set their tongues to wag. And, ooh, those are nice. You wear those outside? I mean, this was the questions I was getting from them. They live a basic life, because flossing your money, 2 things will happen. One, you'll get robbed, or you'll make a poor money decision and you won't have any more money to floss. It's just a different way of our culture seeing money. And Black people, we got to grow up.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but let's talk about where it really matters. Okay. You know, you have these people, and again, we know if you're looking at it along racial lines, we do see this more in the Black community. But what about graduation rates? Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. You know, these kids are all, I assume they graduated high school. They're on their way to college. Well, we know there's a big gap in between college graduation rates between white students and Black students. Just from recent cohorts, which 2018 entry point to 2024, white students graduate 73% graduate within 6 years. Black students are 45% graduate within 6 years. Okay. And we look at places like Baltimore, like Philadelphia, you know, these areas that are heavily populated by Black people, and the education rates and the education systems are trash. So while you have these people out here spending all this money, throwing up all this money, you know, acting a fool, these people, most of them aren't even as educated as that great. And that's the sad part. That's the really, you know, crazy thing about this. But this is what we're talking about, the glorification of just, you know, wrong things in our community is just rampant. And when you look at the political system and what we see of politicians and the leaders within our communities doing, they're championing this stuff. Who did Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all of them? When you see them bringing out people, you know, celebrities, and they go to these nasty skank rappers, all right, to say these are the people that represent our communities. And these are the people, these rappers like Cardi B, like Sexy Red, like Meg Thee Stallion. These are the ones that those prom people are trying to emulate in their videos. That's what they do. They throw up the money and all this type of stuff. It's make a spectacle out of themselves.
KJ, you said something earlier when we started talking about this segment. You mentioned something about the areas, the houses look like they were, you know, relatively nice houses, nice community developments. The thing is that there's a growing body of research that shows, or that at least correlates, that sometimes it doesn't matter what your income is. The culture is that much stronger, even for young people, children in upper middle class, because they're still attracted and drawn to, I'm going to call it this hip hop trap culture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
folks,
because they want to belong. They want to belong like everybody else. And if this is what it takes, the first quote unquote first female Black president had Meg the Stallion. And so now Meg is made. I mean, you have to like Meg. So what that your mom doesn't like that twerking and your dad thinks you should be fully clothed when you go out the door? So what? It's more important to be more like Kamala and Meg.
It's
This is
terrible.
what we're teaching them.
We have some super chatters here, folks. Thank you so much. What do we have?
All right, we have Laura again. Thank you, Laura, for
Hey,
your $20
Laura.
super chat. Thank you for being one of our long-term members. Talking Ton, hi, Michelle. Thank you for your $5. This is a spectacle and set up for financial failure. Exactly. My kids learn stock trading and savings. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. So it really is. And it's sad because they can't even really count. I mean, it's just, I'm by and large, you know, they can't count. They just can't think. So it's really sad.
We have one more.
We have Josh. Thank you, Josh, for your $50 super chat.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Josh.
Okay, there we go. We took in a Black teenager who was working for us at the pub. He acted like that with his friends when we first met him, but I'm happy to say now he looks nothing like that. He works out every day and is now our head bartender and very loved.
Nice.
Thank you, Josh. Val, thank you for that.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
You.
That's a wonderful story.
Yes, that's what we like to hear. And it's not everybody, you know, as we mentioned, you know, it's not everybody, but we do have to push back against this culture. We got to push back against it and call it out. So yes, folks, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate the support. Also, have you all checked out our other channels? Folks, we have Just the Guys podcast. They just finished on Saturday. So they're giving you a male point of view. Definitely check them out every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. And then you can check me out on at KJ Christian Conservative, me and Michelle right there, where we provide a biblical perspective of the news and pop culture. So we had a great show just last night. Going over there after we finished tonight and check it out. We were talking about some great news about some of the young people that are moving closer in their faith. And we're seeing more and more of that, particularly young men. Young men are leading the way in pushing back against the culture, and they're moving closer to their faith. So it was a nice show, great show. All right. So, final segment of the night is our facts over feelings. All right. This is a segment where we push back. We kind of break down some of the lies of the left, some of these, the narratives that are being pushed out in the media that are just false. And we bring out, what's going on. And so this one is a viral clip, a viral clip of Zoran Mondami. Okay, take a look here. This is clip 5.
And standing here this morning, I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are I'm from the government and I'm here to help." It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family.
Oh, wow. All right. Shelly, what are your thoughts there?
Well, first of all, I want to just, those people behind him with the NYC groceries. I mean, this is ridiculous. Okay. But more seriously. So I heard what, whatever his name is, I can never pronounce his name. I call him Zoran, what he said. And his quote was, very catchy, and it kind of pulls at your heartstrings, right? If you just listen to that quote. But I looked up something. And I said, okay, so he's saying the government is supposed to feed your family, basically. It's the government's responsibility. Well, in 1964, we had the Food Stamp Act, the SNAP program for all intents and purposes started. At that time, the poverty rate was about 19% for the whole country based on income by census. Well, let's fast forward. 1973, it dropped to about 11% people on the census, the SNAP program. Well, today, 2026, guess what the poverty rate is? It's about 20-something%. So in all of this time, it has really not gone down over time. up. There's some spikes, there's some dips over the years, but it still has not gone down. And over time, since 1964, the data says that we have spent about $13 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, $13 trillion or more on poverty programs, in particular SNAP, USDA, other welfare benefits. So the government has not proven to be a great arbiter of reducing poverty and certainly feeding your family. So Zoran, that quote from President Reagan was absolutely correct. When the government comes to help you, you might want to run the other way.
But I thought he said the wrong quote. Did he say what Reagan said? The 9 most terrifying words is "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Did he say that?
Reagan said that.
Yeah.
Those are terrifying.
I know
words.
Reagan said it, but
Yes.
I thought Zoran said something different.
He said it was a nice quote, but he disagreed with
And then
that
he
quote.
said his
And then
quote.
He said his quote. I'm
Okay.
saying to Zoran, what you're saying, no, when the government comes, you should run the other way.
Right. Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
You know, Zoran the moron is living up to his name. I get it. He's trying to buy time for these promised free things that he has not yet delivered. Coming fresh off the loss of many, many industries because he's out in front of billionaires, you know, luxury condos, pointing out where they live, saying, "Oh, I've actually taxed the rich." He has made so many political missteps that New York City is probably going to take another maybe 10, 12 years to get back on its feet. You can't have free unless somebody else pays for it. This is the whole problem with this communist, socialist, Marxist ideology is it assumes that there are people who are going to catch you when you fall. That's a horrible assumption. Here in the United States, we have this social services industrial complex. And a lot of that $13 trillion that Shelley was talking about funds those full-time jobs of people who have a vested interest in your butt staying poor. They have a vested interest in you not getting out of that net of poverty. Their jobs depend on poor people being poor. So while we continue to feed both sides of this problem, we have this master idiot who took one of the best cities in this nation and absolutely destroyed it in less than a year. And it's going to take a Herculean effort to get businesses to come back.
That's right. And that's the most important thing. And I think that's what Reagan understood, that government power expands faster than freedom returns. So once these bureaucracies, they gain authority, once they become, larger, it's hard to get them small again. It's hard to return back to small government. Okay. And this is why the Democrats, they fight so hard for people to get on social programs and become dependent on the government, because they know that once you depend on something like that for your livelihood, to live, it is very difficult to get off of it. It is it's almost a trap.
It is a trap.
It is a trap.
It's a dependent class.
It's absolutely
a dependent class, almost a permanent generational dependent class. And so therefore the government always has that population that needs those types of people, if you will, to stay in power.
Absolutely.
Right. And so let me ask you, ladies, because that's the next question. Why is big government a bad idea? We kind of talked about it a little bit, but as you mentioned, Shelley, when you hear someone say like he did, the best words of the language is, "I am from the government and I'm here to help." That is persuasive. People, hear that and they're like, okay, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being dependent on the government?
Who are you talking to?
Shelley.
Oh, so I'll tell you a few things. Number one, it assumes that you are not an agent of your own life, if you will, that you cannot, and that you need this government to take care of you, to guide you, to whatever the case may be. That's number one. Number two, it really diminishes your spirit over a long time. It certainly changes your mindset about what your freedoms really are, who's paying for it, financial, there's all kinds of aspects there. ultimately it tells you that you are a child. You're a perpetual child. Really, it's condescending, not even just financially so, but spiritually as an individual. It says that you need the government, whatever size, whatever that is, and represented by whomever, you need us and not the other way around. Ultimately, it says that as an American, you are not able to achieve whatever that American dream means to you. You can't do it. So we are going to feed it to you, literally, from cradle to grave. You've worked all your life. And granted, again, I always say this. I think we say this a lot on this program. There is a place for a safety net, for a limited time, for a very limited purpose. But that never happens with government. The bigger it gets, or the more you feed it, it gets bigger and bigger, ultimately consuming, and I'm going to use that word literally, consuming your life.
Right. Yeah. Nicole, I mean, what do you say to people who's like, what's wrong with big government? What's wrong with the government? You know, we have a system where we all, you know, contribute. The government takes, you know, a good portion of our checks, and then that is distributed amongst people who need it. What's wrong with that? Because everybody gets taken care of.
Well, because it kills freedom, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. One of the most valuable things in being an American citizen is that you're free. You're free to make your own decisions. You're free to be as poor as you choose to be, or as wealthy as your circumstances allow. All of this means when Uncle Sam steps into your life and says, I'm going to feed you, I'm going to clothe you, I'm going to give you health insurance, but it won't be as good as everybody else. And you won't be able to have people to your house unless I tell you it's okay to have people to your house. And you got to keep it as clean as I tell you to keep it. And you can only eat what I tell you to eat. But other than that, you're absolutely free. And that, like Shelley said, begins the generational curse. Because people have this thing where they shift their lives to fit their circumstances. It's easy. It's convenient. It becomes your new normal. Then you teach that to your children, then your grandchildren, then your great-grandchildren. And even if there is one person who wants to break away, and there was a viral meme, I think last year, of a boy who lived in Section 8 housing with his mother, who said, Mom, I want to get a job. I want nice shoes like my friends. I want to get a job. And she's like, you can't get a job. You're going to mess up my benefits. Here's somebody who's trying to break that generational curse that big government is put over top of this family. And the mother's like, oh no, because that means I'm going to have to get my life together because you want to do that. And what about your siblings? What about the rest of us? Don't be selfish. Sit down and play your PlayStation. When you diminish people spiritually, what you have are people who are devoid of value, and no one wants to live a life that way. And when we talk about
this, Nicole, I'm just to jump in, because you talked about how, you know, when you have this large government, you know, well, as Americans, we work, we hard, we will, and you work hard enough, you may gain some type of wealth. Well, what about what people say? Well, that's greedy. You know, people shouldn't be able to amass these large amounts of wealth. You know, that's they have this money, and you know, it becomes it's not useful when you have so many people that are in poverty. It's greed. What are your thoughts there?
So I don't know any billionaires or 100 times millionaires who got there by themselves. All of these people employ corporations full of other people. They employ lots of people. They employ people like me. And I'm happy to help them make more millions, because the richer they get, the richer I get. This is the American way. No one woke up Richie Rich, a billionaire on their own. Even Richie Rich in the cartoon had a full staff full of people. Wealthy people employ other people. They share their wealth in a way that most Americans can't understand. People who make that argument always talk about the rate of taxes that they pay. Oh, they only pay 1%. They only pay 2%. Well, 2% of 10 billion is much more than 30% of your 10,000. I know math is hard, especially for people who was, you know, spending all their time getting ready for prom. Carry the one. These are the people who employ the people who employ you. It has to start somewhere. And thank God for the people who have entrepreneurial spirit. Thank God for the people who risked it all, because that's how you get filthy rich. You have to risk it to get the biscuit. This is what they say.
Let me say this. Can I add one about the question about greed? First of all, greed is very subjective. Usually it's somebody else saying that someone else is greedy. Okay, it's very subjective, number one. Number two, there's no limit or there's no amount that's automatically makes you greedy versus if you're below that amount, you're not. It's not. Greed is more a function, I guess, or a description of your character, your spirit, if you will, your values. So there's no set amount that makes a person greedy versus not. So not only that, and number three, this is the Shelleyism. You can say what you want. If you didn't make it, you can't spend it. It's mine. I can make as much as I want that I'm able to. Whatever. That's it. That's the Shelleyism. So I tell you, go sit on it. Not only that, if the government is constantly giving you something, you have to ask, at least at some point, number one, nothing is free. Okay. Right. I know we use those, nothing is free, but you should be asking, okay, why are they giving me this? What did I do to quote unquote earn it or qualify? What am I giving up to get this? That should be the bigger question.
Right. You're diminishing your freedom. But usually when you hear AOC and Bernie and all those folks talking about this particular dollar amount makes you greedy, it's usually $10 more than they got.
Exactly.
Let's just keep it above. Greed only applies to other people. It does not apply to the people who are having that conversation. Freedom is what's important. I'd rather be free and poor than wealthy and a slave every single day of my life. People don't understand that, because if you're born into a situation where there is no freedom, when you're born into a situation where, it's caseworkers and social work and they cut my food stamps and all, that is your normal. That's that child's normal. So it takes a lot for them to walk away from that mindset. When you think about American history, when slaves were freed here in this nation, some of them ran toward their freedom fast and full on. Others were like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. It's scary moving from dependency to freedom, because freedom, the only person you have to blame for your shortcomings is you. That's it. It's all on you. When you're dependent, you got a whole government bureaucracy of folk whose problem it is that your food stamps won't buy Little Debbie snack cakes anymore. It really does diminish the human spirit. And it's sad to see. And it kind of, the videos are kind of funny a little bit. But then when you think about it, you're like, here's a grown woman, well over 300 pounds, crying about a Little Debbie snack cake on social media.
Yeah. All right, folks, we'll sound off in the chat. We wanted to break that down. This is a very important segment to, share with your friends and family who are on the left. This is why we as conservatives believe in small government. And ladies, you all made some very powerful points. One of the points that I think is why I'm against big government is it's so inefficient. It's so inefficient. The larger it gets, the more inefficient it gets. And we see this in leftist bastions here, leftist areas all over the country. Many of them, the larger these governments get, the larger even right here in Baltimore City. I mean, the mayor of Baltimore City has increased the size of his office, and he's gotten even more inefficient. Okay. And we see this all over the place. So, that's one of the main things that I see, and one of the main things against big government. All right, we have some super chatters here, Shelley.
All right, let's see who we have. We have Bernie. Hi, Bernie.
Hey, Bernie.
Thank you for the super chat, Bernie. I've got a better 9-word statement for mom dummy. You never should have been mayor of New York. I love it, Bernie. Thank you for that. Blah, blah, Black Sheep. Thank you for your $5. He says, if anyone is ever a fan of big government, ask them what the government does well. They won't be able to answer. Absolutely, absolutely. As Dennis Prager, I say Dennis Prager a lot. He always says, the bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. And that's just it. That's just it.
All right. I think we have.
Oh, yeah, one more. Hi, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. 11 months, almost a year. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us. Another brush fire raging now in Sim Valley. I think that's Simi Valley, California. Reagan President's Libraries is in the fire path and in the danger zone. And also, Mackenzie's 14th birthday is tomorrow. Oh my God. I thought she was birthday. Oh my gosh.
Happy birthday, girl.
Mackenzie.
She's growing up so fast.
I'll tell you. Oh my God.
Wow.
We have another super chatter here, I think, right? Another one from Jessica. It says, Jessica, $5. Thank you. Reagan said, when we start letting kids pick and choose which rules they will and will not follow, that's when we no longer have control of our country. Good point. Thank you.
That's very true.
Very good.
That is very true.
All right, folks. Well, that does it for us tonight. We will be back on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We'll be live in studio. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. We wanted to see you guys in the place on that's Wednesday at 8 p.m. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night, everybody.